Something that almost everyone seems to have still laying around from their childhood is Skylanders. Is it even worth holding on to them, or should you actually sell all your old Skylanders? Of course, that decision is ultimately going to be up to you and your personal situation, but in this video, I just want to give some pointers for exactly why I think maybe it's a good idea to sell them, or maybe why you should hold off and keep them for a little bit longer. This video won't necessarily really apply to a lot of my main consistent viewers who come back to me for a lot of Skylanders content, but it'll more so apply to people who randomly find their Skylanders, remember the franchise even existed, and then go searching up for prices somewhere. Then maybe you'll come across this video on whether you should sell them or not. This is who I'm trying to target, but anyone else, I'm sure you'll still get some enjoyment out of this one. If you're still a fan of the Skylanders franchise to this day, then I really see absolutely no reason why it would be worth you selling your Skylanders. If you desperately need the money or something, of course, do whatever you gotta do depending on your situation. But if you still have the time and the ability to play Skylanders, you still have your old figures, and maybe you're actually even active in the community, then I see no reason for you to sell your Skylanders. But if randomly one day you found a big old bin of all your old Skylanders and you're like, I wonder if these are worth anything, should I sell them? Well, I have good news for you. Some Skylanders are actually worth a bunch of money. Whether you should sell them or not, let's get into that. So I think the main thing to realize is whether or not these things have a bunch of nostalgia for you. If Skylanders was a huge part of your childhood, you don't just want to throw that all away and sell it all just for some quick cash. Maybe you do, but for the most part, I feel like you wouldn't want to do that. I know I personally would never want to do that with all my old Skylanders, but of course, everyone's situation is different. If you find a bunch of old Skylanders and then it reignites your love for the franchise, you want to get back into it, of course don't sell them. But if you find them and you're like, oh, Skylanders, I remember that, those were such good times, then I would say maybe just hold off. Maybe hold off for now, do a little bit more research. If you realize these things might continue going up in value, or I might get nostalgia, I might want to play again, then I would say by all means keep them. If there's any hesitation as to whether you should sell them or not, I would say absolutely keep your Skylanders, because I have a little bit of story for you guys. I used to have Robo and Wildstorm a long time ago. I got them back originally in retail, Toys R Us, Walmart, Target, wherever it was, and I had them for about 6 years. And then in 2022, when I sort of started falling out of Skylanders, I decided to sell them. Did I regret this? Yes, I did. I 100% did, and eventually I bought both of them back. And so now I have these guys in my collection again, but I wish I never sold them, because I lost what I would say those were definitely the two most expensive Skylanders that I had, and then I no longer had them. It was a pretty sad day. Even after I sold them, it was just a sort of sad experience overall. I don't want that to happen to any of you guys. So I would say if there's any hesitation, any doubt that you don't want to sell these guys, you feel like maybe I will eventually want to go back to them, is it really worth the money? I would say absolutely keep them. If you have a bunch of only the cheaper figures, the more common stuff from games like Spyro's Adventure, Swap Force, Giants, then I would say it's worth keeping that, because the money you get from a lot of those cores, Giants, and reposes and stuff isn't really gonna be that much. I would say the average price of those guys is like $5, which of course it could add up if you have a bunch, but if you're selling your entire collection of the first 3 games for $80 or something, is that really worth it? All those years of building up this collection for what, $10 a pop, and now you're just gonna sell them all? I really don't think that's worth it. Me personally, I don't think I could do that. Maybe if you just despise the first 3 games, it might be worth selling them, but I still would not recommend it. And that kind of moves me into my next point. A way that I think you could get around this and would actually be able to make some money is, I would say, if there's any games you specifically don't like, or any group of Skylanders you don't like, maybe you don't like Imaginators, but you have some of the more expensive senseis, then sure, sell off those senseis that you don't like. You don't play Imaginators, it doesn't really matter. Then at that point, you really don't need them if you don't like Imaginators at all, because you can't even use them in any other game. Or maybe you think the minis are worthless and you happen to have Breeze or a mini Stealth F, I don't even know what her name is, then I think, yeah, it's kind of where Whisper Elf, there it is. It's kind of worth selling those if you don't really care about them. Maybe you already have the original version, you don't play as the minis ever, you just kind of don't like them, you think they were cheap knockoffs, then sure, yeah, by all means, go sell those figures. But if you absolutely love Swap Force and you have a complete collection of swappers that could get you a decent amount of money, should you sell that? I don't think so. If you love Swap Force, you have tons of nostalgia for it, it's still your favorite game, maybe you went back and played through it and it reignited reignited your love, do not sell those guys. I think it's 100% worth holding on to those figures because honestly, Skylanders I think are something that's only going to continue to grow in value. Which kind of leads me into my next point, that the price of Skylanders is really only going up. As someone who has actively been in this community for about 3 or 4 years now, I know that Chompy Mage and Thrillipede and Breeze have gone up so much. Breeze 4 years ago was about a $60 Skylander. Now Breeze is upwards of $130. Chompy Mage, you could get him for maybe $100, $150. Like 3 or 4 years ago. Now it is pretty difficult to find him for under 400. Or look at Thrillipede again. Thrillipede, you could consistently find him for about $40 to $60 about 4 years ago. Nowadays, Thrillipede is about $100 more than that if you want to inbox, and if you want out of box, he is still going to be over $100. These prices are continuing to go up, and the stuff that isn't going up is staying the same. It's not like any of these prices are going down and you should sell them right now. If you want to get the most money out of them, they're just sitting around. You might as well just keep them for as long as you can until the prices are absolutely the highest they should be, or the highest they'll ever get to. That kind of makes sense. But of course, if you don't play with your Skylanders, you want to support the community, put your whole collection out there for someone to buy, then I would say go for it. Because if you want to give someone who still loves this franchise an opportunity to buy all your old Skylanders and have a blast with it, and you're willing to do that, that'd be super amazing. And I know someone out there would greatly appreciate it. And if you're never going to use them again, of course, it does make sense. But in the end, the decision is up to you. It's just hard for me personally to really want to ever sell my Skylanders. Besides the idea of me being an active member of the Skylanders community, when I sit back and really just look at it laid out, like, it was pretty much like 5 Christmases in a row that all I got was Skylanders. I was in love with this franchise. I was given so many Skylanders as gifts, as presents. Just, it was awesome. It made up so much of my childhood, and I would be devastated if I lost all that. I would never want to sell away all that. I can understand that you're in a tight situation, you need money. Of course, I get it. If you gotta do what you gotta do, then go for it. But if they're just sitting around, I would honestly recommend you don't sell them. I would recommend you play the game and try to get some nostalgia out of it, because maybe your old collection will still, maybe that love for it will come back to you, if you know what I mean. And of course, if you do want to sell it, it might be better to hold off for as long as possible, because I could see some of these figures being worth far more in the distant future. I personally know that the past 10 plus years of my life would be completely different without Skylanders. So for me, I would never really want to just sell off all my collection, even if it was for $2,000 plus or whatever. It's just not worth it for me. It's never going to be. I love this franchise so much that I do not want to sell off my Skylanders. But I will help you guys out if you would like to sell your Skylanders. I'm going to give you guys a few suggestions for where you should sell them. If you have a bunch of old Skylanders and just want to get some quick cash for all of it, I would say just put your entire big bucket of Skylanders on OfferUp or Facebook Marketplace and keep it local. Someone will probably find it, be like, hey, that seems like a good price. They'll come and pick it up from you and pay you, and you'll be done, and they'll all be gone. If you want to sell them individually for what their market value is, then I would recommend selling on eBay. eBay, really consistently, that's where people go to buy Skylanders the most, and your items will always sort of be in traffic if you list them on eBay. So say you have an Enigma, which is a Skylander who goes for about $30. If you put him on eBay for $30, he will probably eventually sell, and people will continue to see that. Maybe if you drop the price a little bit, he'll sell faster. But eBay is going to be a good spot if you want to sell them individually and get the most you probably can get out of your Skylanders. Mercari is pretty much the same as eBay, but a lot of people are starting to stay away from it. So I would say it's probably not the best place to sell them. The only reason Mercari is better for sellers is because now there are no seller fees. But because of that, there are now a bunch of buyer fees. And so a lot of people have started to stay away from the platform. In addition to this, I think Mercari is just a little bit worse at keeping older listings relevant. So there's a larger chance that your item could just get like forgotten in the system and then no one's ever even going to see it. So for that reason, I would say probably stick to eBay. But if you want to list them on both platforms, that wouldn't hurt. The last option I would give is to reach out to SCL Matt. He is a Skylanders content creator. He also has a reselling business that will pretty much ensure your figures go to a good home with someone who is really going to love and cherish them. And of course, he just seems like a super trustworthy and nice guy. So if you reach out to him with a decent offer for all your figures, he will probably pay and you will just ship them to him. And that's how that will work. I haven't personally done that, so I don't know all the exact specifics, but I don't think it's too complicated. if you don't need top-notch dollar for all your figures and you just want to get rid of all of them for a pretty decent price, he will pay you, and then that will be that, and it'll be settled. So that's that's another option that you have, of course. But I would say any of those three options is really fine, just depending on how fast you want to get rid of them and how much money you really want to get out of them. In the end, it is all up to you guys. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of help and insight from someone who really does love Skylanders and someone who grew up with it, maybe someone who's in a similar situation as you, as to what I would do and the best place to sell them on. So I hope this video helped. I will see you guys in the next one, and good luck selling your Skylanders, or I'm glad you came and realized you actually didn't want to sell them. So bye-bye, everybody. Have a good one.